In a foreign supermarket, a strong black man puts the muzzle of a gun in his mouth, closes his eyes, and lets the robber shoot. The robber is instantly dumbfounded and has no idea what to do. Seeing the robber's fear, the black man gradually becomes arrogant. He taunted the robbers with his head pressed against the gun, forcing them to shoot. The robber panics, thinking that the man must be mentally unstable, and decides to leave with the gun. However, the black man grabs the barrel and presses it against his head again. With a swift motion of his right hand, he personally loads the robber's gun. The robber becomes even more flustered and quickly shakes his head, claiming that he doesn't dare to shoot. The strong black man immediately goes wild, raising the gun barrel and smashing the robber's nose. Then he quickly slammed the butt of his gun into the fleeing robber. As the robber's accomplice rushes forward with a knife, ready to confront him head-on, the black man effortlessly grabbed the dagger, locking his throat. A leg lift kick stunned the robber. He pins the robber against a shelf, causing friction and rendering the robber completely powerless. He took out money from the robber's pocket, bought a bottle of alcohol, and immediately returned home. However, the story doesn't end there. Once he arrived home, he became even more insane. He put the 2 bullets in a glass, poured in the wine and drank it down in one gulp. He then took a bullet from his mouth and loaded it into a revolver. With his left hand, he spun the cylinder, allowing the bullets to freely rotate. He then placed the revolver against his chin and pulled the trigger. The gun didn't go off and he got another life back. His name is John and he's a retired Special Forces soldier. Due to the brutality of the battlefield, he developed battlefield syndrome and lived in constant anxiety. To relieve stress, he often shoots in the head with a revolver in the morning, and at night, he became even more ferocious. He would lift weights with a dumbbell non-stop. When the dumbbell breaks, he hits the wall, peeling off layers of paint. Although he is formidable, he has a very gentle side. Whenever he meets with his twin half-sister, he forgets about his battlefield syndrome and becomes a normal person. However, this time his sister almost lost her life. She was severely injured and lay on a beach in a poor area of Brazil. After being rushed to the hospital and given emergency treatment, she was barely clinging to life. The police investigated but found no leads. He received news of his sister's injury and immediately rushed to the hospital in Brazil. Looking at his sister lying unconscious in the bed, he was instantly filled with anger. He, along with the police, examined the scene and discovered that the people here were all fierce. Everyone had weapons in their hands. The police reminded him not to look for trouble here, or no one can save him. Upon hearing this, he immediately realized that his sister's situation was not as simple as it seemed. Suddenly, when he returned to the hospital, he saw a strange nurse injecting medication into his sister. Just as the nurse left, his sister began convulsing uncontrollably. After the rescue, his sister managed to survive. He immediately requested police protection for his sister but was refused by the police chief. A friend informed him that the area was too chaotic. The police force was simply insufficient to protect his sister. A good friend gave him a copy of the information and he read it to understand. The favelas in Brazil were truly dangerous. Criminals with rifles roamed the streets. Missing girls' posters covered the walls. Children couldn't go to school and could only play football on the streets. The police personally bought water for the criminals, begging them not to cause trouble. What was even more terrifying was that when other police officers came to arrest someone here, they would be surrounded by criminals. The police could only surrender. However, John's sister came here to open a charity hospital, helping the local people, only to be severely injured by the criminals and almost killed. As a Special Forces soldier, John couldn't tolerate this situation. Ignoring everyone's dissuasion, he went to the place where his sister had the incident. He wanted to confront the criminals directly. Sure enough, he found a criminal wearing his sister's necklace. He rushed up and demanded information about his sister. Unexpectedly, the criminal called a few henchmen to attack him. He immediately fought back and easily defeated 4 strong men. He attacked wildly at the guy wearing the necklace. The man with the necklace was brutally beaten and pulled out a knife to attack him. With a swift move, he snatched the knife away. He demanded that the other person confess everything, or else he would kill him. At that moment, a policewoman arrived and pulled out her gun. Aiming it at him, she informed him that the young man with the necklace used to be his sister's colleague. The necklace was a gift from his sister to the young man. Upon hearing this, he immediately stopped and apologized to the young man. The boy is still quite resistant to beatings. He took his sister's notebook from the young man's hand. Several pages of the notebook had been torn out, clearly indicating deliberate sabotage. His search for clues about the mastermind behind all this was once again interrupted. He went to a restaurant to have a meal and calm down. He happened to see the notes left by the waiter when he wrote the menu. In an instant, he had a sudden realization and opened the notebook. He continuously rubbed a piece of photocopy paper against the notes in the notebook. A phone number appeared, with his sister's last appointment written on it. He immediately dialed the number, and the person on the other end was a photographer and a good friend of his sister. He met with the photographer, who told him that his sister had been inquiring about the missing girls and had taken many photos. Unfortunately, the next day something happened. He asked the photographer to hand over the photos, but the photographer claimed to have deleted them all. He didn't believe it at all, so he pretended to hug the photographer and took the photographer's USB drive. When the photographer to drive away when the car a loud bang, the photographer died. John quickly became alert to his surroundings and spotted the strange nurse from before. He immediately chased after her, intending to apprehend her. However, she was agile and got in the car and ran away. But it wasn't over yet, for killers appeared, armed with rifles, and started shooting at him. He swiftly drew his gun and engaged in a fight with the killers, easily taking down 2 of them. Seeing his formidable combat skills, the remaining killers had no choice but to retreat. After the battle, he noticed that the killers had complex tattoos on their bodies. Such tattoos are typically found on members of the Japanese mafia. Indeed, there was a powerful Japanese mafia presence in the favelas of Brazil. The person who harmed his sister was likely connected to the Japanese mafia. He opened the photographer's USB drive and discovered information about a local crime boss. This crime boss had deep ties with the Japanese mafia. He immediately headed to a bar where the crime boss frequently appeared. He saw the crime boss, who was also a DJ enthusiast, dancing wildly on the stage, carrying his suitcase and accompanied by bodyguards. The crime boss disappeared into the restroom. John came to the toilet door and kicked the bodyguard out. Into the toilet, a slap in the face of the head of the snake. He grabbed the neck of the ground snake to make the other party explain everything. However, the boss remained stubborn and refused to say anything. This greatly amused John. Pressed the head of the ground snake into the yellowing toilet, and let the ground snake drink a lot of yellow water in one gulp. He grabbed the head of the ground snake, demanding that he confess everything, but the ground snake told him a little salty next time, eat less salt. He was angry and once again pushed the head of the ground snake into the toilet. The head of the snake drank for a while after completely conceded and explained all the things. He learned that his sister had inquired about the Japanese gang and the local missing girls before she was severely injured. Then his sister was seriously injured. Once he heard that the Japanese mob moved to the ground snake's lair with the ground snake's luggage, found a lot of big rich people spending money here, and gangster boys escorting a group of girls into the room. One of the girls was the missing girl from the slums. These girls were being held captive in the basement, waiting to be transported elsewhere. Just as he was about to investigate further, a burly man pulled out a wire to strangle him. He swiftly knocked out the man with his leather gun. But the battle is not over yet. Gangsters and 4 brothers surrounded him. The little brother tried to pull out a gun to attack him and grabbed the leather gun and disliked it wildly. The little brother's gun was knocked to the ground, and then he broke out into a powerful fight. He used the suitcase as a shield to block the attack, dropped the suitcase, and instantly dashed to lock the throat of one of the minions. Throwing the suitcase away, he instantly flashes and locks the throat of a junior, kicked the last one away. In just a few minutes, all 4 minions lost their fighting ability. Gangster bosses look at the situation, can only call the police support. Meanwhile, in the slums of Brazil, a group of special police launched an attack on the drug dealers. Criminals will be shot on the spot if they resist. In a hidden corner, a special police officer arrested a Japanese gang henchman. However, Captain Huzi, also known as Bearded Brother, picked up the henchman's gun and shot the police officer. Manning picked up the gun belonging to gangster henchman and shot a SWAT team member. He wiped the fingerprints off the gun using a handkerchief and returned it to gangster henchman. He informed gangster henchman that the price would be increased this time. It turns out that Manning is working for the Japanese mob. He was helping the special police force eliminate the power in the slums of Brazil to clear the way for the Japanese mafia. At this moment, the leader of the mafia called and asked him to help eliminate John. Upon hearing this, Manning immediately rushed to the mafia's base, pulled out his gun, and attempted to kill John. Fortunately, a female police officer arrived just in time and stopped him. She told John to hand over the snakehead suitcase to Manning, because the suitcase contained fake customs documents. Manning needed these documents for a trade with the Japanese mafia. After John handed the suitcase to Manning, he felt that something was not right. How did Manning know it belonged to the snakehead? Upon careful consideration, John realized that Manning was in cahoots with the Japanese mafia. He planned to use the customs documents to send the girl overseas. He immediately went to the harbor and quietly approached the cargo ship. As expected, he saw Manning conducting a deal with the mafia leader, Huang Mingding. A group of missing girls were also being transported into the ship's cabin. Seeing this situation, John was filled with anger and infiltrated the cabin to start his attack. He swiftly moved behind a henchman and delivered a powerful slap to his face. The henchman fell to the ground, and John quickly grabbed his gun, eliminating the remaining enemies. He turned the gun around and aimed it at another henchman, but the henchman agilely evaded the attack. Getting closer to another enemy, John seized the opportunity to lift the enemy's gun and continuously fired, eliminating 2 more people. Afterward, he finished his warm-up and began a relentless onslaught, sliding and tackling without restraint. Crazy output. Gangster boys were killed one after another, waiting for people to see him so ferocious. Completely exploded, they began searching everywhere to confront him in a decisive battle. However, he remained calm and agile, engaging in a fight with Manning. Manning's high output pressured his movements. Unable to find a solution, he swiftly pushed a cart, instantly knocking down Manning. Manning's henchman, Amir Zavari, rushed in for a hand-to-hand combat with him. Just see that Amir Zavari is a master, jumping and fighting at the same time. It looks very powerful, but the killing power is not high. With a swift kick, Amir Zavari knocked Manning to the ground. Just when he was at full output, Hirimoto came and joined Manning and Amir Zavari to attack him. But after all, he is a retired Special Forces soldier and has a martial arts skills. See his crazy position to dodge all the weapons a punch to Hirimoto dodge Manning's attack, taking his dagger and piercing it into Amir Zavari's foot. Amir Zavari lost all fighting capability as a result. Seizing the moment, Manning closed in and launched his attack. Unexpectedly, he instantly exploded and threw 80 punches a minute. He swiftly grabbed Manning's cross necklace and used it to pierce Manning's major artery. Manning scrapped on the spot. At this time, Hirimoto outbreak of combat power, with a weapon to attack him a burst, and really let him be wounded. He saw that he was a strong fighter, picked up 2 steel pipes as weapons, and attacked wildly, easily suppressing. However, Hirimoto unseemly popped out a dagger to attack, stabbing him in the stomach. His combat power was quickly reduced. Hirimoto was attacked continuously. At this point, Hirimoto began to provoke. Amir Zavari admitted that he had intended to kill Manning's sister, but to his surprise, she had miraculously survived. As soon as he heard the anger instantly full of killing, his fighting ability skyrocketed instantly. A flash crazy leg smash Hirimoto, steel pipe a slam. Hirimoto completely did not breathe, so the generation of gangster Hirimoto successfully ended his life. However, in the hospital, the female killer came to the ward to kill John's sister. A policewoman suddenly appeared and shot the female killer. After this incident, John's battlefield syndrome recovered perfectly and became a normal person. However, his former colleague finds him and asks him to join the Bureau of Heavy Intelligence as an agent. In order to make money for his sister's medical treatment, he could only agree to join the Serious Intelligence Bureau. In this way, a generation of retired Special Forces John became a special agent. From then on, John embarked on an indescribably joyful life, making money to treat his sister,